To live is to suffer. To watch Monday Night Raw, well, that's to find meaning in the suffering. Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade, and we watched Monday Night Raw from December the 20th, 2021. And this show, if I wasn't, I just felt like a corpse by the end of this show. And at one point, a corpse actually talks to me, and I was deeply concerned by this corpse. It was a very beautiful corpse. We'll get to that momentarily. So we started the show with MVP and Lashley. MVP was wearing this incredible suit. It looked like a jacket. You know, it was hilarious, and it just looked like somebody put a milk dud on top of a belt and just left it there for hours and hours and melted. I'm going to shrink this down because this is not worth wasting too much time on. But Lashley wanted to see MVP beat up Big E because MVP said that he could. So he was going to let him have that moment. Let him have that opportunity to beat him up. Then they got jumped by Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. They all got beat up by Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, including Big E, who came out there. Big E made a joke about the Lashley sisters segment, which got a pretty good row out of the crowd at the time. Of course, this is set up the tag team match. Whoopee tag team, can they coexist? Lashley and Big E versus Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Let's get right into that because the match itself, I probably watched like 35-40 seconds of it, which is probably the last 35-40 seconds of it. I just feel like these guys have had far too much contact and there is no heat whatsoever for Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. They have now turned into Team Rocket, where they basically trip all over each other, they fall down, they giggle. They were making jokes, like Kevin Owens was talking about Lashley being some kind of reverse Benjamin Button, how he's getting younger somehow. And it was funny. But I was like, this ain't what you want for your main event top heels. Like, these guys are literally Looney Tunes characters at this point. Kevin Owens takes the pin. How about that for your $3 million investment? $3 million investment. He gets pinned. Okay, hopefully Lashley makes 3.6 or something like that in order to justify having a $3 million investment get pinned right after he signs the contract. Of course, after the match, Rollins and Owens jumped Big E and Lashley, beat him up. Powerbomb on the ring apron, very good stuff. Stomp on the stairs onto Lashley, both of which was on Lashley, just to keep him down. It was good. The post-match beatdown was pretty good. Didn't have any problem there. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins actually hugged, which was very weird considering they the one started this whole shenanigans, all this shenanigans, by, one calling the other one a liar and Rollins making fun of Kevin Owens. So I'm guessing obviously this is going to lead to the inevitable backstabbing, right? It's just backstabbing. Somebody's going to backstab somebody else, and it's going to be, they're thick as thieves until, the moment of truth. Then somebody's going to have to stab somebody in the back. So they're literally still doing can they coexist? Jesus, man. Oh, they just have just too much contact with these characters, and they all just keep pinning each other. It makes no sense. The one thing the Dirt Sheets probably asks that makes a lot of sense in this situation is, when was the last time Big E stood triumphant at the end of Raw? And I can tell you the question is probably when he beat Lashley in that cage match. I think that was the last time. Maybe it was another time after that, but I don't remember it. Big E does not come out of these situations looking very strong. He's almost always getting beat up at the end of the show, which is fine because you do want to give heat to your heels. At the same time, though, the heels need to have time to build up heat. If you're beating them every week, they're not going to get any goddamn heat. It's a simple situation where, do you want to have your firefighters put out a match, or a little match that you kind of struck it against the wall, and it's a little flame, and they go, and they blow it out. You don't get called a hero for that. You get called a hero when you run into the backdraft, and it's like the entire mansion is on fire, and you're pulling babies out of this burning mansion. That's what it's supposed to be when you're the world champion as a babyface, fending off heels. You're supposed to be like the guy who's running into the burning building and saving babies. This is not what, even if Big E was to win this Fatal 4-Way, none of these people have heat. They've been teasing Bobby Lashley as a babyface for 3 damn weeks. Almost to the point where they're getting rid of MVP, which I have a lot of opinions on. Then, Kevin Owens, how many times he been beat twice in 2 weeks? Seth Rollins, twice in 2 weeks, been getting beat. Where's the heat? Like, he got his comeuppance. He did some nonsense at the beginning of the show. He got his comeuppance at the end of the show. So what are we going to get? More comeuppance at day one? Why should I pay to see that? Why should I pay to see him get beat up when I've already seen him get beat up? Why am I paying to see the pinfall when I've already seen the pinfall? It makes no sense. Now, this threat to separate MVP and Lashley, look, I love Lashley. Lashley is my dude. Absolutely. But separating him from MVP is a huge, huge, huge mistake. I'm thinking it's a ruse. Just like I think the Paul Heyman Roman Reigns thing is a ruse. I'm thinking this MVP and Lashley thing is a bit of a ruse. But at the same time, Lashley is the Almighty. It is about pride for him. He does want to be able to say he beat guys by himself without any help or outside interference. But he didn't seem to mind when he was the world champion. It seems like he minds now. Which is odd. It's odd. I'm sure if he was ever, I wouldn't say turn babyface, but he was ever to become a babyface, you could always explain that he never really liked all of that, hurt business, backstabbing stuff, which is why he kind of got rid of those guys. And why he refused to reform it in the way that it was before. It was because he didn't want those guys feeling like they had to interfere on his behalf and doing all that stuff. He wanted to stand on his own. Which is, and I think the crowd is ready to accept Bobby Lashley as a babyface. I think he got a pretty genuine, I don't know if that was piped in. It felt genuine, his reaction that he got earlier in the night. And people understand that MVP is the heater of the group. You can't have MVP as a babyface. It's just not going to work. So if Lashley's going to turn babyface, he's got to separate from MVP. And that's at that point where I get I'm sick to my stomach about that. I am sick to my goddamn stomach at the thought of Lashley and MVP being separated. That sucks. I mean, the era of guys having a Bobby the Brain Heenan that they were with for 2 or 3 years or 4 or 5 years, that shit don't even last a year now. Lashley and MVP has been together for about a year. I know it feels like it's been longer, but it ain't been that long. They haven't had enough time to really establish, like the Heyman and Lesnar established. That's established. They should have done that with Lashley and MVP. Establish it by, MVP is his guy, all the time. But you cannot have MVP. MVP is not the correct character to be a babyface. That's not going to work. So if they're gonna go with this whole Lashley as a babyface thing, that means bye bye MVP, and that blows my mind. I can't imagine why you would do that. Not because MVP is the one who was the cherry on top that made push Lashley to the next level, which he is. But honestly, I feel like there was a lot of money left on the table. And then turn Lashley babyface for what? He wouldn't even be the top babyface. He would still be secondary to Big E. So no, why were you turning him babyface? Unless he's going to win the title. In which case, I still wouldn't take the title. I still wouldn't remove MVP from him though. But I don't know, man. I don't like the direction this thing is going in. I don't like how it's making my stomach queasy. I don't like that. Get it together. Fix this. But none of these guys have any heat, and Big E doesn't people don't really believe in Big E anymore because he keeps getting beat up. He get beat up every week. He doesn't stand strong. There's too much 50-50 booking, too much contact between these characters. It's just simply too much. Finn Balor defeated Austin Theory. The match was very solid. I did skip a match. I'll go back to it in a minute. But Balor and Theory had a solid match. They had a pretty good match. That springboard Spanish fly was absolutely ridiculous and it looked dangerous. Austin Theory needs to stop it. He does remind me a lot of Randy Orton now. It's undeniable now that he's kind of like their next Randy Orton. He's their next guy. So before the match, Austin Theory was contemplating why Vince McMahon likes him so much. And he landed on the idea that, Vince sees him as the next WWE champion. A future WWE champion, rather. So what happens after Finn Balor defeats Austin Theory? Austin Theory goes back to Mr. McMahon's office and he's about to knock on the door. He second guesses himself and says, I can't go in. I can't go in there. Balor is talking about, hopefully he took a selfie of that, getting that ass kicked. And that's, he gets beat up again by Austin Theory. Beat him up out of nowhere. Now, Austin Theory has got his revenge. And he goes back to Vince. And Vince grumbles. He's grumbling a lot now. Maybe they need to put the microphones. I think probably all these things were recorded around the same time. Because they would have fixed the audio issues. If not, just put a fucking microphone, boom mic, right on his shoulder at this point. So we can understand what the fuck he's saying. But Austin Theory was bragging about the ruthless attack that he did on Finn Balor. How he got him back, even though he lost. And Vince says that he appreciated Austin Theory beating up Finn Balor and that he likes that. But he still lost. And he should fire him for losing, and he enjoys firing people. Put a pin in that statement because people got tight-assed about that. Then he says he's going to give him a second chance. I think he says he wants to see a ruthless villain. I'm thinking or he asked Austin Theory if he wanted to be a ruthless villain. I'm not sure how that came out. And then Vince drew some stuff, erased it, and blew the eraser stuff all over Austin Theory. It was very weird. It was very weird. It was very bizarre. It was all very, very bizarre. But I think, as far as if you look at with the position Vince is in now, he's the mage. He's the old wise elder. They almost always talk in riddles. If you've seen any of these old like the Master Roshis or Yoda or whatever. I never seen Star Wars, but I think Yoda is the mentor in that because from the way Yoda talks and as far as I know about the character, Yoda would be the mentor. They almost always talk in riddles. They never give you straight answers. They never tell you exactly what you need to know. They tell you essentially hints, and then you have to figure it out for yourself. You put it together for yourself. That's how you really learn. Is you get hints here and there, and then you bring it all home in your own way. That's kind of what Vince is doing here. Where he's not being a coach. A coach tells you exactly what play to run, how to do this, how to do that. A manager does something a little bit different, but an advisor, they may talk around things. A professor may talk around things. A professor very rarely gives you the direct answer. And those classes are almost always the easiest and make people stupider is when you give people the direct answer. But if you kind of hint around it, and then they figure it out for themselves, then they figured it out for themselves. Or at least they are learning because they are trying to figure it out for themselves. And it's kind of where we get with Austin Theory, where he's as confused as everybody else of what the hell Vince McMahon's got going on here. But he was smart enough to know, to figure out on his own, not to go into Vince's office. A loser. He was smart enough to know that. He figured that part out on his own. That he couldn't just go in there having been whipped like a dog by Finn Balor and just say, Mr. McMahon, I lost. He knew that he had to go out there and make a statement. And then he could come back and say, I might have lost, but. And that would get him another chance. That would, prove that he actually is competent. And that's smart. This was very smart writing to that degree. But Vince is a little dodgy. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. But I'm gonna continue to trust the plan on this one because I see what they see in Austin Theory. He's very good. He's quite charismatic too. He can talk. He has confidence. He has charisma. He just needs a character. And hopefully we get to the point where this guy actually does have a character. He's going to wrestle Finn Balor again next week. Not thrilled about that, mainly because he just had a match, for Christ's sake. At least up the ante, but apparently not. What is Vince trying to turn Austin Theory into a ruthless villain? Okay, we'll see. Now, a lot of people were very upset at Vince saying that he likes to fire people. Oh, how tone deaf, how distasteful. Look at all the people you fired. I'm like, man, if you don't shut your ass up. Vince has been on firing people for 25 years. You think he ain't ever fired nobody before 2019 or 2020? All of a sudden, he shouldn't say that he likes firing people. He liked firing people when he fired the Ultimate Warrior's ass, when he fired Jim Duggan, he fired the Iron Sheik. He loved firing people then. He even made a joke, I think, on the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior about how much he loved firing Warrior after SummerSlam. What was that, SummerSlam 91? How much he enjoyed firing him. You know, he loves to fire people. That's great. You know, that's great. But what makes it even weirder is that people should know 99% of the things said on television is a work. 99%. For starters, Vince doesn't even really, he approves the releases, but he isn't the one actually firing you. The person who's firing you is John Laurinaitis. Okay, he's the head of talent relations. Now, I think a lot of people have this idea because of how wrestling media works, that Vince McMahon is sitting in his office individually firing everybody. It's like he's in his office individually writing every single script and telling people what to do. It's like there's not enough time in the day for him to do all of that and still be negotiating TV rights deals and all that kind of stuff. Vince's position is to delegate tasks. That's all. I mean, if you're a boss or a manager of any kind, getting in the weeds is always going to be a mistake. You know, he's going to be, deeper than he should be in some issues, like creative. Maybe he shouldn't be so deep into that. But him micromanaging, it just doesn't make sense from somebody who has a history of running a business for X number of years. You're not going to micromanage the business. You may have a vision for the business, and you hire and put people in position to do those sorts of things. So let's say how the firings likely occurred. It was likely somebody in an office said, hey, we're paying too much for talent. We got to start releasing folks. And then it went to whoever the head of talent relations. Hey, we need to start cutting down some of these contracts. Some people have got to go. Then Laurinaitis probably got together with all the heads from creative and all the people from NXT and say, okay, who's expendable? Who can go? They wrote down a list of names, pitched people. Some people tried to save others, yada, yada, yada. The list gets shipped to Vince. He's like, whatever, who cares? Doop, that's it. John Laurinaitis fires all these people. That's pretty much how it happened, right? He's not individually choosing to fire everybody. It's not realistic. It's like, that's like saying the CEO of Walmart is firing everybody who gets fired from Walmart. Like, no. I'm telling you, there's a great number of those people who got released from WWE that Vince McMahon never even met, let alone was the reason when he personally fired them. It likely did not occur. Now, there's probably some of them, like Braun Strowman or Bray Wyatt, and some of the other guys he probably, of course, did meet. Of course, Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder was there for 10 years or whatever. Of course, he probably met. He's probably shocked to see his name on the list, but ultimately was like, look, we don't really need this guy. He's 35, 36 years old or whatever. We don't really need this guy. So I don't, and besides, I'm not a pussy. So I don't take him, I love to fire people. I don't take that personally. I don't get upset about that. So what? He likes to fire people and he's in character. It's not like he was talking on CNN or something like that about how much he loves to fire people. And even if he did, I still would probably be like, that shit's fucking hilarious. You know, not because everybody's going to lose their jobs. It's so bad when people lose their jobs. If that was the case, you wouldn't be out here spreading rumors and gossip and shit trying to get people to lose their jobs. You ass. Nobody believes you. You need more people. That's rules. Even if his promos are a garbled mess nowadays. All right, let's move on to Dewdrop and Bianca Belair, quote unquote, the final chapter, which I was like, God, thank you. We finally got the visual of Bianca Belair doing the KOD. This woke the crowd up. The crowd didn't really care about this match at all until Bianca Belair had Dewdrop up on her shoulders. Then they were like, whoa. Which everybody did. Even I was like, whoa. Now, of course, yes, we saw Dewdrop put her foot on the second rope and push off. Gave Bianca a little help. You know, she didn't just lift her. Gave her a little help. But Bianca still had to walk out of the corner with her and hold her in place and push her up. So it was still a very impressive physical feat. And that is, of course, the end of this whole thing. And I don't even see you can't even get any more out of this. So I have no idea what's next. You know, Dewdrop really needs some help. She needs to win. She needs some wins. You know, she took it to a couple of losses. She needs some wins. And Bianca's still as strong as ever. But there's only really one route for her. Either she fights Becky or she's stuck. I mean, I'm guessing they're keeping her ready for the Royal Rumble. I'm like, okay, fine. But she's very strong right now. All right, so let's talk about Miz, AJ Styles, and Omos. Oh, my good God, bro. So AJ Styles, to cut this short, AJ Styles made some jokes about about Mike and Maurice, where this led Miz to drop the bomb that Omos doesn't want to be in a tag team with AJ Styles anymore. He's tired of carrying AJ Styles. Omos didn't say any of this, by the way. This is the Miz talking. But Omos is not saying he didn't say it. There was some talk about some chitter-chatter about it took 15 years for AJ Styles to get to WWE, where WWE found Omos and begged him to join WWE. I thought that was a particularly interesting comment to make, and it kind of rubbed AJ the wrong way. At the most dramatic moment where AJ Styles was looking to Omos to tell him everything is all good, the Mysterios come out there. And I was like, why? Why do they care to interrupt this? Why are they making they're interrupting their enemy as they make a mistake? And that is talking about their relationship right before a tag match and whatever. The Mysterios defeat Omos and AJ Styles as Dominic rolls up AJ. Omos never even tagged in from what I saw. After the match, AJ called Omos trash, then attacked him. Omos then shoved him down and said that next time they see each other, it will be in a match. And yes, that match will be next week, Omos versus AJ Styles. And I'm really disturbed by all of this. Mainly because Omos never spoke for himself in that segment. Secondly, who is the heel? Is it AJ? Because AJ is the mentor and he attacked his student. You know, is it Omos because he refused to tag in? Is it, and you know, he supposedly told the Miz all these things about AJ Styles? I mean, who's the heel? And it seems to me like everybody is supposed to have sympathy for AJ, who believed in Omos, who continues to believe in Omos, who continued until the very end to say that this thing is going to work out and it's just growing pains and Omos is going to be the best of all time and, you know, all that kind of stuff. He literally just said this 8 or 9 minutes ago. And now he's saying that Omos is trash and he never should have saved him, and he started throwing wild punches on him and got shoved down. Like, okay, so wait a minute. Slow down, bucko. Can we set the story correctly? it makes sense for AJ to be the sympathetic babyface here. He's the mentor who was putting Amos on a pedestal, teaching him everything he needed to know. And now Amos is like, Frankenstein. He didn't ask to be in this position. He just ended up in this position. And now it's kind of gone to his head. And he's like, all right, I don't need this guy anymore. That's the story. That would work. That would turn AJ babyface. Because it would have been like he took this kid under his wing, this big green kid, and taught him everything that he knew. And then the guy stabbed him in the back. Very sympathetic. You could have had AJ Styles as an abusive mentor who constantly kicked this guy around, who constantly pushed him around, and Amos is rebelling against him. That would make Amos the babyface. But somehow we have this incredible melding of the two, where at one point AJ Styles is abusing Amos, and Amos is like, I don't need you anyway. Like, what? So both of you are assholes. Why should anybody want to see this match? And it only means it's going to end in disqualification or count out. I mean, you're using that match to draw viewers at this point. And I know, right? That's the point of the whole show. But what I mean is probably going to be a bait and switch, where it's going to be AJ Styles and Amos, and the match will actually probably never happen. They'll never get in the ring. They'll probably get in the disqualification, count out, AJ hit him with a chair or something stupid like that. But this has been so rushed, and it's so disorganized, and it seemed like they had it ready and set up for AJ to be the babyface coming out of this thing. But then they wrote that weird scene for him to just assault Amos for no reason, because he lost. It came across as being very odd thing for a babyface to do. Whatever. Since we're talking about The Miz, we'll talk about Maurice. And Maurice comes out there on the cutting edge. Edge's talk show. And Maurice is laying out, it's Festivus, and this is the airing of grievances. She's out there talking about how she wants to be respected because she does everything, how she takes care of the family, she takes care of the kids, she takes care of the bank book, she takes care of the business, she takes care of the TV show, she reads all the contracts, make sure everybody's eyebrows are perfectly arched, she makes sure her boobs are perfect for Instagram and Twitter, everything. She does everything. And, Mike doesn't do anything. And she wants Mike to respect her. And Edge, of course, sees through this nonsense because it's complete garbage. He even said, I'm so sorry your life is such a country song. And he says, this is just a ruse and you're going to attack me, aren't you? Like, where's the Miz? Just call the Miz out here. Miz comes out there and instantly gets beaten up by Edge. Maurice hits Edge in the back of the head with her purse. And it looked completely and totally hilarious because it wasn't a loaded purse, which is what you would think it would be, right? Like, that would be the first thing, is that you would think that she put a brick in the purse. And then she bashes Edge in the head with a loaded purse. That would have been perfect, and it would have knocked Edge right out. And people would have thought the Miz was the dangerous one, but it was really Maurice the whole time. She was the real weapon. But here, she smacks Edge in the back of the head with her purse. He turns around, she smacks him in the face. And then he gets hit with a skull-crushing finale on the mat and gets laid out flat. So he saw it coming, fought it off a little bit, didn't see that Maurice was going to get physical, and that was the difference. And I think it was simpler in my way. Is if she just would have had a loaded purse. She could have just had like pool balls in there and just whop right across his head with him. And he could have just went down like. And she wouldn't have been able to, generate enough force to hurt him for real anyway. And he flops down, and then she kind of opens her purse, and something big and heavy falls out like boom. And then they laugh. And you think, okay, Maurice now has a loaded purse. So this is what we're going to be looking for on day one, is for Maurice's deadly loaded purse. But that's a little too old school pro wrestling, Like, that's too 80s. It's too, early 90s for these guys. A woman with a loaded purse. I mean, the segment Went on too long. These talk segments were terrible. They were awful. I hate them. I hate all of them. Plus, I didn't like that. I wanted something a little bit more fun for the Miz and Edge, but I like that they went ahead and said everybody sees through this Maurice Miz thing. Let's just go ahead and blow it up because it's not gonna last. 2 more weeks with us trying to pretend that Maurice and Miz are getting are in any type of marital trouble, and they just abandoned ship on that. So then we ended up with Chad Gable versus Randy Orton. Match had a lot of potential. Too bad he didn't get a lot of time. Chad Gable is like one of these guys that is always one step away from breaking through, where he's one great performance away from breaking through and becoming a next level guy, but they would never give him that much time. It feels like they would give him 10 minutes, he would break through. He sold that RKO right here in this match fantastically. I mean, him selling that RKO was magic. And I don't think the audience really appreciated how good his sell for that RKO was. It was tremendous. And I liked specifically the post-match where Otis was the guy and Randy couldn't RKO as he kept trying to RKO him and Otis kept pushing him off. And he kept saying, like, come on. And Randy was like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good. The Alpha Academy remains a group or a team where they take one step forward and one step back. One step forward, 2 steps back. 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. It's just, they're not letting them get any momentum at all. And it makes no sense. But they clearly like Otis. And they clearly like Chad Gable enough where they haven't fired him. And he's been tag team champions with like 8 different partners. Apparently they like this guy. Why won't they just make the move and start giving them consistent pushes? Go back to the vignettes. If they can't wrestle, you don't have a match for them. Go back to the vignettes. That's always the easiest thing to do. Just go back to the vignettes. Damian Priest loses a match to Dolph Ziggler via count out because Priest was distracted by Robert Roode and beat him up. And this was a championship contenders match, my favorite. We need to have a WWE contenders match show. Just a whole show full of contenders matches. Just like Hell in a Cell or Royal Rumble. We have 2 big contenders matches. A women's championship contenders match. WWE contenders match. We have it in December. Replace Starrcade. Dolph Ziggler has no heat. Nobody cares about Dolph Ziggler. He's a rubber band. You keep stretching him, he keeps coming back in the same shape. So this means nothing. It's not even a quality win for Damian Priest when he does beat Dolph Ziggler. It doesn't mean anything because Dolph Ziggler has no heat. Same thing as Robert Roode. Robert Roode has no heat. The same problem as the other guys. I mean, they get their comeuppance immediately after it happens. So they do a bad act, they immediately get their hand slapped. So there's no heat being built in that situation. So this is just Damian Priest once again is a hamster on a wheel going in a circle until they decide to put somebody credible in his path. Well, at least they're doing something. And he's not in the Nakamura lane where all Nakamura does is dance with Rick Boogs, and that's it. He doesn't even wrestle matches, for his title. He's not even in has he even wrestled in a championship contenders match recently? I think he had a match with Corbin. Was that a contenders match or whatever? I don't know, man. All I know is it's absolute basura. And it's very tiring. And I really wished Ziggler was, over. And it would have been very good for Damian Priest. Reggie, Dana Brooke, R-Truth, and Tozawa did a very cookie cutter 24/7 thing where Reggie is trying to wine and dine Dana Brooke, take her out to a Christmas park or whatever. And of course, Tozawa's an elf, and R-Truth is Santa Claus, and Tamina's trying to get the belt, and everybody gets into everybody's way. It's becoming kind of formulaic now. They need to start, shaking things up because the 24/7 thing is boring. Very boring. All right, so the next segment was Rhea Ripley completely obliterating Zelina Vega, which was hilarious and not good because Zelina Vega had been on a winning streak. She had not lost a match since September, since she won the Queen of the Ring. And here she is losing her first match in complete and total squash fashion, essentially. Now, Rhea Ripley is big enough where this, big enough, strong enough as a character, as well as a person, where this didn't hurt Zelina too badly. And it also tells the appropriate story, which they set up earlier, is that the reason Rhea Ripley lost is because Nikki was out there distracting her. This match, it was focused, undistracted, Rhea Ripley at full power, whereas Zelina Vega completely was overwhelmed. Sure, I can buy that for the story. I just wish that wasn't the story, and that we could have maintained Zelina Vega's unbeaten streak for at least for a little while longer. I still think Rhea Ripley is wasted in this tag team feud. It's pointless. And speaking of pointless, our last segment, Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, in which a corpse cut a promo. Liv Morgan comes out there with all the personality of a crash dummy. Everyone thinks that Becky Lynch is the best. I used to think Becky Lynch was the best too. I liked Becky Lynch. And if she tried to steal the Raw Women's Championship away from me, Becky Lynch, I am going to win the Raw Women's Championship away from you. I didn't bring this kendo stick for me. I brought it for you. I was like, what the fuck? She can't handle monologues, dog. She is not good. Not good. Wrap it up, B. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. I was mad at this promo. It wasn't good. The cinematic thing that they did on Twitter, I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting attempt at furthering the storyline. And they did it on Twitter where, most people will see it. It was oddly shot in so much as it seemed like somebody was teleporting. And it seems like Liv Morgan teleported to the ring and she didn't get seen by anybody. And then she attacked the first redhead she saw. The first person with orange hair she saw, she just started swinging. It was like she was a bull. It was like El Matador or something, like orange hair. Ah! And just started swinging this kendo stick. Turns out that it wasn't Becky Lynch. It was actually a Becky Lynch student. Then she chased Becky Lynch, hit her with a kendo stick. And she was very proud of this. And then after she showed the clip on television, she says that Becky knew she was coming for payback. And that she felt bad about attacking an innocent woman. But it was Becky's fault. She sacrificed a student. Becky came out there and said that Morgan got lucky and that her luck is going to run out. After Liv Morgan threw the kendo stick to her, she said that Liv Morgan was lucky she had a private jet to catch to get out of this town. And this wasn't good. This was Liv Morgan's another opportunity for her. This was a bigger flop than the match was. She just does not have the personality or the character to pull off what they're asking her to do. And a lot of people are like, oh, it just sounds so wooden and scripted. And I'm like, everybody has scripts. I can't use that excuse. Everybody has scripts. You can't use that excuse. Liv Morgan's been in WWE for several years now. You can't use that excuse. Ultimately, it's just not good. And maybe it was, last minute and they rearranged what they wanted her to say and she couldn't quite get it out. But she just went out there and said almost exactly what they told her to say with the amount of passion as brother and sister. It was ugly. It was an ugly, useless promo. I hated it. And Liv is a rookie in this place, and it did not make her look good. It made me feel like she needs to be replaced. Somebody else needs to take that spot. She apparently is just not ready for the job that she's being asked to do. And that's okay. You know, this is what the tag team division is for. You put her in the tag team division and she can learn how to cut promos and work longer matches there. You know, not everybody has to be in the same role. Like, literally just did a video about this. You know, I know she spent a couple of years in the tag team division with the Riot Squad, but none of them are good promos. None of them are. You know, nobody in the Riot Squad was a good promo. She needs to hang out with people who know how to talk, who have charisma. You know, it's not going to give her charisma, but at least may help her add fire and add passion to her promo. She came out there and was very wooden and very weird, despite the fact that she just attacked a person in public. That's like, when you that mad that you're willing to attack somebody in public, you should have more bass in your voice. You should have more of a scowl on your face. You should be, you were lucky, Becky. You were lucky I got confused. I didn't think anybody else was stupid enough to have that stupid hair color. You know, something like that, even if it's not in the script. One thing that you learn is that once you're out there, it's all yours. You know, put as much passion on that thing as you can. If we can see that it wasn't good, trust me, the bosses saw that it wasn't good. And even though this story only really makes sense if Liv wins the title in the end, I would definitely consider not giving her the belt. I would definitely consider it. You know, her performances have just not been up to snuff. Not to the level of the other horsewomen or even some of the lower tiered horsewomen. She's not on the same level as like a Asuka. She's certainly not even. Asuka is like right there, basically a horsewoman herself. You know, Bianca's, you know, very quickly coming up to that point. And you got your Alexa Blisses and your Rhea Ripleys. When Nia Jax was there, she was one of them. You know, the occasional top player in that space. Bayley is another one, even though she's a horsewoman. She's not a persistent, well, she was for the last year or two, but before that, she wasn't really a persistent threat. And you find that niche for certain people. It's just like Nikki and Liv Morgan probably were just aborted ideas, you know, where they gave an opportunity to somebody who people believed in and people liked and people trusted. Like, the people used to like Nikki. Remember that. People used to love Nikki. And then they trusted Nikki with this Nikki Ash thing, and it was a bomb. Absolute bomb. And it wasn't just, oh, look at how they booked her. No, house shows, bomb. She's getting booed out of the building and house shows. So yeah, they de-emphasized her later. They're kind of doing the same thing with Liv Morgan right now, where, you know, I'm not so sure she's being, you know, booed out of the building on house shows, but she is failing a lot on this television screen, and it's not looking good. Baby's first promo was a dud. It wasn't good. Raw wasn't good either. Had a lot of matches. Only one of them was of any caliber, which was Austin Theory and Finn Balor. The angles felt like retreads. Same guys fighting each other over and over again. Same guys arguing about the same stuff over and over again. Nothing major happened. Nothing jumped out at me as must see. Nothing jumped out as, you know, you missed it if you didn't see it. Same crap as always. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.